First story. Grown arse man ruined my disabled son's life. So I ruined his? Hello. And thank you in advance for your creativity and time. I'm living in hell right now and need ideas. My son just turned 18 and is disabled. He needs and takes multiple medications and needs support at school. He does well in some settings and is on track to graduate and pursue trade school with support. And we're so proud of him. He is extremely impressionable, a little socially awkward, and desperate for friends. For years we've struggled because he gives his possessions away, gets into bad situations, someone offering to sell him rocks at a park, him thinking they are collectible polished gemstones, so he asks to see them, and then freaks out when he realizes they're drugs and is easily bullied. He will do anything to be liked, which breaks my heart, and we're working on it in therapy, with trusted adults, etc. The grown man. This guy is 28 years old. Let's call him Quentin. He's frequently homeless, often sleeping in a tent in parks. Or he'll get a voucher from our city to stay in a motel. He has 2 pit bulls, not spayed or neutered, that he will leave in the tent or motel room when he works at a fast food job. I actually have compassion for him and his animals, if he had nothing to do with my son. It started with him asking my son to watch his dogs in the park while he worked. My son is so thrilled to have a friend and be helping, and he does love animals. So he will spend 8+ hours a day or night alone in a park, watching these dogs. He would ask, can he take dog food, toys, and blankets from our house for Quentin's dogs? He does it whether we say yes or no. Months ago, we would say yes because I appreciate that my son wants to help these dogs. Starting a few months ago, when my son turned 18, Quentin told him he didn't have to stay with us and could stay with him. For weeks, our son was sleeping in the tent with the dogs or rough in the park. Quentin gives him beer and weed. Our son will watch the dogs for entire shifts while he works. Quentin tells him he will help him get a tent and vouchers, too. The police are sympathetic, especially because my son has disabilities and also some medical issues. But he is 18. School is supportive, but he's almost to graduation, and again, he's 18. We had not ever pursued medical conservatorship or anything like that, because before now lots of things were going right. And we don't take that lightly, removing civil liberties from another young adult. In the past week, Quentin got another room at the motel. He messaged my son to come stay with him, and he did. My son sat in the room and watched his dogs while he worked, and I imagine they smoked and hung out when Quentin was not working. My son would respond to text messages from us, but asserted he is an adult and can go where he wants. He missed a week of medication, school, part of his part-time job, and another important appointment. Being Quentin's friend is more important than all of these things, and he feels good helping his friend and says, Quentin is like a brother to me. He's the best brother I've ever had. Quentin's own family has kicked him out. They are nearby. No idea who watches the dogs when my son is not available. Quentin doesn't drive, and earlier this week my son gave Quentin his bike because he needs it more than me. Our son came home yesterday and had a complete psychiatric crisis because he's been unmedicated and probably also high drinking for so many days. His medical issues are exacerbated. He was banging his head on the concrete floor, and when we called emergency services, he spit at the police, so they put a spit hood on him and restrained him. It was horrific, and he was begging for help. We're not sure when he will be stable enough to come home and may need a medical procedure. He was coherent today, crying, apologizing, but still 100% certain Quentin is his friend. I also feel terrible because I know that at age 18, it's a good thing for my son to be not telling us everything, having his own friends and life, etc. I look forward to that day. He does have other friends who are closer to his age, and their hanging out is more appropriate. But these other kids have busier lives and more responsibilities. They aren't available 24/7. Quentin is, and my son feels so good when his phone pings and it's his friend needing him. How can I make this man's life miserable? Or at least, make it too uncomfortable or risky to keep hanging out with my son? Nothing to harm or stress the dog, please. It's not their fault, and my son would never forgive me. Some of OP's comments. Commenter. Sounds like you might need to pursue medical conservatorship, which I know you don't want to do, but it sounds like you definitely have grounds, and it's the lesser of two evils at this point. I don't see things ending up well without intervention. OP, thank you for this and others who prompt me to reconsider conservatorship. I called a lawyer on Monday. I had already done research and collected that info, but I had a lot of hope that once sheltered work started up, and he had less free time, it might not be necessary. Commenter. Pay someone to be your son's friend who's more of a caretaker. Honestly, this guy sounds at the very least like a scammer. Sometimes the only way people get into deep in one scam is a second scam. It's sad, but there's literally a bot on r/scams for recovery scams. Basically, people are promising to recover your loss for some fee. It's not great, but if you could afford someone to offer better friendship, and then point out that his old friend is lame, it'll be like positive peer pressure. Maybe help the person could help them join appropriate opportunities for new friendship, then phase out. OP. This is another great idea, and I appreciated the comments below it here in the thread. I have reached out to some young adults older than him that might serve as mentors or fitness coaches, hang out with him, work out, play basketball, build positive connections with people who don't wish him ill. Thank you for this. I have a few possibilities here in our area. Commenter. If it were my son, there's nothing I wouldn't do to ensure his safety and well-being. My advice would be to just make this man's life miserable. Contact his work and make complaints against him. Tell them he's selling weed or is abusive to customers. If he has a room, report him for dealing drugs and threats of violence. If he stays in the park, phone the police and claim his dogs are attacking people in the park. All anonymously, of course. Maybe nip down to the park late at night and set off a SHT load of fireworks near his tent. Do this over and over again. Make it your life's mission to ruin him. He'll move on when it all gets too much. My son is autistic too, and him being taken advantage of is a great worry for me. I hope it all works out for you. OP, thank you for this. I did contact his employer because my son isn't the only teen in the neighborhood Quentin is giving alcohol to. I also contacted management at his motel, where he occasionally stays, to let them know this person was letting a vulnerable teen stay there and miss school and meds, and that it was surely against their policy. Quentin was not happy. I contacted his work and the motel. I felt really empowered by so many of the comments here to engage around this and make his life more difficult. Get son a dog. Yes, and great insight to others who mentioned maybe getting my son a dog. He actually has a medical alert service dog and other pet dogs and cats and fish. So animals are truly a special interest of his. Heartbreakingly, he will leave the service dog with us because the dog is safe and we love them. But Quentin's dogs need him. But yes, we lean on the gifts he has with animals to build other areas of his life. Talk to the police again. I just spoke to the local police again tonight. Sometimes they lean heavily on, he's 18, he's an adult. But some of them, when they get to know him a bit, realize he's vulnerable and are more willing to help. Keeping him busy. Yes, son has an interview tomorrow at an animal adoption center. This is the type of setting that would keep him busy, help him feel like he's doing something important, and give him better adults to be around. Commenter. Get rid of the dogs. Go on Facebook and post how they are being abused, and an intervention must take place. Get rid of the tent. Is he camping illegally? Call the cops. Get rid of Quentin. He's not good for anyone right now, not even himself. A major intervention is 100% necessary for all parties involved, for the police, for you, and for your son. There is so much to lose with inaction. OP, I did part of this evening. Son got home from hospital last night, back on meds, stable. Goes to his special interest class at school and does great. Goes for bike ride. Lo and behold, he's back out with Quentin and the dogs. It's after 10 p.m., so the park is closed. Quentin is pitching the tent. I called the non-emergency line to let the police know a homeless man with 2 pit bulls was sleeping in that park near the playground. Police went and moved him and sent him back to us. I will keep doing this. I might also flyer homes near the park to let them know there's a homeless man with 2 pit bulls who provides alcohol and weed to teens in the park near their home, to help make it less comfortable for him to be there. Thank you for this advice. Commenter. You could see if Quentin would accept cash and a bus ticket to leave town. It would be the least messy way to disentangle him from your son. Or if you can round up a group of scary people and a van. A different kind of ride out. I appreciate and applaud the autonomy you've given your son. But it's time for his own sake. OP, thank you for this. I did go find Quentin after seeing this advice and offer him cash to leave son alone and stop taking his calls. He refused and promptly told his son that I had offered. He also told my son I'm too attached to him. Block the number on his phone. Thank you for these. Yes, we've blocked his number in the past and given him an old flip phone when a smartphone was too much to manage healthily. But Quentin doesn't even always have a phone. They video chat on Instagram. They can also borrow anyone's phone, log into Instagram, and communicate. Go with him to every hangout. I loved this advice to crash every hangout. I started doing that tonight. Quentin was so mad. He told me I'm harassing him. He finally walked off and told my son not to follow him. Son is mad at me and parroting that Quentin says I'm too attached. Fine with me. I can do this every day. Great advice. Update. 4 months later. A few months ago, I came here asking for tips to help get a man named Quentin out of my son's life. I'm super grateful for all of the ideas and many kind words. As of today, and for the last 3 months, my son is happy and healthy. We found a transitional living house for him with 5 other young men and 2 house managers and a dog. He's learning to be an adult, learning to cook, clean, and get a job. It includes therapy, gym every day, yoga, skateboarding. Truly a dream come true. The house is about 40 minutes away from where Quentin lives, and my son feels he has friends, is purposeful and feels adult, and is learning and busy. They will also do job training. Before this happened, I took as much of your advice as was possible. I contacted the manager at Quentin's workplace and the motel he occasionally stays at. I told them Quentin was allowing a disabled teenager to stay with him and giving him and other teens alcohol. The manager is a local small business owner and took my information seriously. I also went to the motel and pointed out the sign that said all guests must have ID. My son does not. I told the manager I hoped he was abiding by rules or I'd contact corporate. I also started calling the non-emergency PD line when he was camped after park closing time and leaving his dogs during the day. PD would move him along. Someone had the great advice of being his best friend and showing up all the time. So I did. Quentin wants to see my son. Hey, here I am, too. I'm at the park, I'm at your work, and I'm near the motel. I even prepared flyers to let others in the park neighborhood with a playground for small children know about the tent, camping, and unsupervised, unneutered pit bulls. Quentin got increasingly upset. He said I was stalking him, and he was going to call the police. I said, politely, please do. I'd love to tell the police more about what you're doing with my son and other vulnerable young people. I told him, you want to be in my son's life. I'm in your life. Up to you. I really felt bold after all of your advice and encouragement. I was willing to keep going for the long haul. In the meantime, we found a lawyer, and I started tapping into resources to find my son some kind of job training because he really wants to help and feel grown up. For a few weeks, he was working at a drugstore through a program through a local agency. That was huge for him, stocking and cleaning and helping people. It also kept him busy for about a month and kind of removed Quentin slightly. Quentin either got sick of seeing me or was afraid of losing his job. The location of the motel he had been staying at occasionally stopped letting him, so he had to start using another location much farther away. Farther to walk to work and harder to deal with. I think he realized my son wasn't worth the trouble I was causing and just stopped contacting him. Thank you so much for all of your ideas. I was so focused on trying to fix it from my son's end. As his mom, I had no idea how to actually deal with Q. You all were fantastic. Huge thanks from the mom of a happy, healthy, busy, and purposeful young adult son. Some comments. Commenter. Glad things in your situation are going in a positive direction, but wondering why you have to mention unneutered pit bulls in such a negative context. I'm 100% about spaying and neutering all animals right now because this country is in a crisis with the homeless pet population. But I feel like your statement wasn't mentioned because of the same reason. OP, absolutely. Thank you for naming that. I'm also worried about the animals. One reason I struggled at first with what to do is if my son weren't a factor, I would feel drawn to helping Q and his animals, or at least pointing him to resources for that. I have colleagues who work for organizations that help those without homes stay with their pets, often their family. Since I wrote the first post, one of these dogs has had puppies. I also tried to help my son realize that he wasn't responsible for the dogs, and it was a hard life for all of them. Until it became clear how in danger my son was. I guess I mention it as another example of how the adult in the situation was not being responsible, and how the untended dogs were not safe for themselves or other unfixed animals who might come into the park. For me, the state of the animals is also sad, and one reason my son was so compelled to help. Which is a negative. I feel for their thought and never wanted to harm or scare them. Traditional Plan 7423. For anybody in Houston, Texas, that may see this, I work for a nonprofit, SurJobs. We offer training and licensure to youth, young adults, and veterans. Financial literacy assistance for everybody. Our goal is long-term financial stability through training, job placement, and financial education. We are completely funded by federal, state, city, and private donors. All classes, certifications, and licensure are completely at no cost to you, the member. Please look us up. Please donate if you find it something that you support, and help us to continue our mission. Sir Jobs for Progress in Houston, Texas. Find us at sirjobs.org and on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and any other platform I missed. We have community events that you can participate in and help us continue to serve anybody who wishes for a brighter future. Ida. Sorry if it may sound like taking time from OP, but our services are helping many in this situation, and we will do anything it takes to see our members succeed. I may just be an admin in accounting, but I wholeheartedly believe in our organization and mission. OP, thank you. Amazing. Yes, an organization like yours is helping us immensely. And I am so grateful others can help my son, and I can be his mom. Thank you for your time and work. Second story. Our tarded whale Karen slapped my daughter, stole her Switch, claiming it's her son's, and broke it, saying video games are for boys, then ran away after my ex called cops. Now she broke my prosthetic leg, calling me a fake military valor, and demanded I crawl back and give her son his video game while kicking me and shouting I sought her. Now, spending the rest of her life behind bars. To start, I'm staying at my ex-wife's for the weekend since our older of two daughters graduated high school, and she's going to be coming back with me since her college in my town. Well, my younger daughter told me about how Karen tried to steal her Switch and broke the screen. My ex-wife confirmed it, and I'll be sharing their story after this one as it's her and my ex's story. And since she finished her grade year with an AB average, I decided to just buy her a new one instead of making her wait to get it fixed. In her town, this meant Gamestop, and only Gamestop. So, being an IT tech and hobbyist game developer, most of my t-shirts are anime or video game ones. I'm wearing a Team 4-star Vegeta, I am the hype t-shirt and jean shorts flip-flops. I decide to also get her Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild since she was wanting it, and just starting to get into RPGs. As I'm bending down to get one of the new boxes off the shelf, I hear the most entitled excuse me I have ever heard. And being in the entitlement capital of the Great Lakes region of the US, I hear it almost constantly. Thinking I was in the way, or after turning my head to look at how fat she was, that she couldn't bend over to get a game, I asked what she wanted. She started asking about some new game system her son read about online, a playdate, and wanting one. I told her I don't work there, and she'd need to ask the guys at the desk, since I've never heard of this thing only to see it on the Reddit homepage before logging on to post this. Well, you must. Look at you. You look so geeky. You probably had them hack that part of your leg off to be a cyborg or something. Final note. For those who haven't read any of my past stories, I lost part of my leg in a training accident. I look at her like she's retarded and tell her to F off, and that I lost my leg in the military. I said this in that drill instructor's rip your arse a new one voice, and that drew over an employee while I started to try to get up. Note that I said try to, because at this point Karen stepped on my prosthetic. The weight of this effing whale, or the metric F ton of entitlement she carried in her fake designer bag, caused the part of the prosthetic that holds on to the pin embedded in my leg to break. My full weight falls into the rack, and the bee screams. Now you have time to take care of a customer. You fake valor. A law in the US about claiming to be a disabled vet for scamming purposes. Mama's boy. Crawl your arse into the back and get me a playdate now. And maybe I won't have my husband, the franchise owner, fire you. The poor worker, a 5'9" guy that Hank Hill would have called a twig boy, tried to pull her away from me while she was kicking me and screaming to get out of her husband's store. Big mistake. She backhanded the poor guy into the wall and screamed saw, which I guess caught security's attention, or got the other employee to call for mall security. During this, I used one of the sets of shelves anchored to the wall to pull myself up, and I launched into the fight. Having been the one-legged guy in an arse-kicking contest before, I push off the wall to allow me to wrap my arm around Karen's neck to make her own body weight work as a replacement for the broken prosthetic, while I start punching her in the back of the head. When security arrives, they find me effectively riding her back, probably the only way this bee had been ridden since starting to gestate the kid, and punching her in the back of the head, while she's slamming us into everything close to try to force me to let go. He calls for backup and cops. It took 3 of them to pry us apart. The whole time she's playing the victim card, talking about how I was rude to her, and how me and the cashier both tried to saw her. While security was going over the video, we were each pulled into different rooms, and I was allowed to call for my ex to bring me my workout jogging prosthetic before they started asking me questions about my side of the story. Well, they finally finished going over the footage from all 5 cameras, and found an outside one looking through the window that caught everything. I was being helped out of the security area towards the manager's office when my ex arrived with the prosthetic and our older daughter so she could drive my car back to their house. Around this time, the cops hauled Karen out of the room she was in. Seeing her, my ex shouted, "That's the bee," and started to inform the arresting officer that she was the one that had set off this whole chain of events, even giving them the card with the report number on it. This Karen is currently being held on 3 counts. Assault Gamestop incident, assault on a minor switch incident, attempted theft switch incident. I hope the judge throws the book at her. Update. So, rewind from that back to Memorial Day. Despite being a veteran, I had to work and was in a different city, so I have no bearing in this. Quick note. My ex and the kids live in a small town. Cast, ex, my ex-wife. YD. My young daughter Switch. Nintendo Switch. The holy grail of Karen bait. M. The Karen. Imagine a sumo wrestler with female tits dressed in knockoff designer labels. My ex's description. Ek, her egg-shaped crotch goblin. So, being an ex-wife of a vet and mother of a pair of kids that got via benefits thanks to me, Memorial Day has always been big with our family. Even after the divorce, Memorial Day has been big with the family. My ex took the kids to the park for a barbecue with her side of the family. My youngest, being trapped as the only middle-high kid on that side of the family, asked to bring her Switch she got for Christmas since the high schoolers wouldn't want anything to do with her, and she didn't want anything to do with the little ones. My ex, who used to laugh about the Switch stories on here I'd send her links to, thought it was all just teens making things up to be cool. After all, no adult could be so childish. Was her favorite saying about them, even the ones I've written since I never admitted that I wrote them. She even scoffed at the story I had to pull down about my daughter's first encounter with one voluntarily over pedophilia being involved when my daughter told her about it. Until the cops called for a recorded statement from my daughter over the incident. My younger daughter's sitting a little ways off from everyone so she can enjoy some alone time with some Smash Bros. When in comes the ek. He asks what she's playing, and she tells him. He asks to play. She says no. He tries to take it, and she yells for her mom, prompting him to let go and flee. She's never seen him before and decides to just leave it be, thinking it might be a friend's visiting relative or something, and goes back to playing. 5 minutes later, the M starts stampeding up. M, how dare you steal my son's Switch? YD, no, it's mine. I see. M, interrupting her with a slap to the cheek, no, it's not. It's my son's. I'd recognize it anywhere. Don't you lie to me. Give it back, or I'll call the police. YD mom. She screamed as M snatched the Switch and tried to run away. My ex catches up to her by a weird rock that's a part of the town's culture. X, what are you doing with my daughter's Switch? M, that is my son's Switch, and I'm taking it back. X, no, it's my daughter's. Give it back. Ek, catching up to M, thanks for getting me that Switch. Can I have it now? As the M went to hand it to the kid, my ex grabbed it and tried to take it back. During the struggle, the Switch comes loose from the controls and is smashed against the rock, shattering the screen. X, you're paying for that B. M, like hell I am. I'm going to sue you for my precious angel's Switch. X, it was my daughter's. And I can prove it. M, so what? He deserved it more. She's just a girl, and video games are meant for boys. My ex sees a cop, a friend of hers since she's a prosecutor for the county. As he starts to come over to see what's happening, the land whale grabbed her kid and booked it towards the wooded area of the park, where they apparently lost the officer, but dropped the side control she had been clutching that the officer found. But the entire Switch is currently evidence. He took a report and apologized. When they told me about it over the phone, I promised to buy her another one after the Friday graduations so she'd have a backup in case this happened again. Being a gamer and anime nerd, I grew up during 90s Toonami. Sailor Moon, DBZ, Gundam Wing, etc. I know the pain of having your first and only video game system being out of commission while waiting for the warranty repairs to be completed during the start of the summer. Especially since it's now evidence, so they have to wait for the trial to be finished before the ex can get it back to be sent off and fixed. Third story. OP is accused of being creepy for committing the crime of looking at his girlfriend while she's talking. I am 34, have been with my girlfriend F30 for 9 months now. We have just introduced our friends to each other, and everything is going smoothly. I think she's the one, to be honest. My girlfriend has a very pretty face. It's just perfect, and I love watching her. She's also very shy and blushes and gets flustered when I look at her for a few seconds. and she would try to evade my eyes or laugh nervously and kiss me to break the awkwardness. But she never made me feel that I was being out of line or creepy. And I always thought it's her shyness that's causing the awkwardness rather than my gaze and creepiness. But I will be honest here. Her shyness adds to her charm, and I find it very hot that she's still so shy around me. Last night, I was at a restaurant with her closest friends, and my girlfriend was telling a story. She was telling the story and blushing, and I didn't notice it. But I was probably gazing at her when all of a sudden her best friend shouted, "Would you stop being so creepy and stop ogling her? Can't you see that she's uncomfortable?" The loudest silence followed this, and then my girlfriend said that she wasn't uncomfortable at all. But her best friend continued that she had noticed me starting at my girlfriend all evening, and that it was very creepy. I told her that she was my girlfriend, and that I wasn't staring at a stranger. But then all the girls said that I was wrong. It is wrong to stare like this at a woman, even if she's your girlfriend, and that I should at least have noticed how my girlfriend was uncomfortable. Another girl's boyfriend told them that was ridiculous, and they rounded on him. It turned into a sexual harassment discussion, and I felt so embarrassed to be accused of being a creepy dude. I told them that my impression was that my girlfriend was nervous because she was telling a story and everyone was listening, rather than being uncomfortable because of me ogling her. My girlfriend answered in the affirmative and said that she wasn't offended by me. Her best friend didn't want to drop it, however, so I just yelled at her to shut up. The mood was ruined afterwards, and we went our separate ways. I texted my girlfriend that I was sorry for making her uncomfortable and that I wasn't being creepy on purpose. I just love her face. She told me not to worry about it. But the thing is, she must have told her friends something, or they wouldn't react so strongly. So she probably thinks and has discussed that I'm being a creep. Or she hasn't told them anything, and they made the assessment all on their own, and that's even more worrying. What am I doing wrong here? Top comments. Who am I supposed to look at when she's talking? You? Raises an eyebrow skeptically. You're staring at your girlfriend. Straight to jail. Bro, if you're creepy for looking at your girlfriend too much, I should probably be arrested for the stuff I do to my boyfriend. You're supposed to be just the littlest bit obsessed with your partner. She's the prettiest woman in the room. Why wouldn't you want to look at her? OP's response. I might have made it worse by joking that this was nothing compared to what I did to her in private. I was trying to defuse the situation. Yeah, I didn't. And here is me thinking it is perfectly normal to stare in awe at people you love. I am a woman, and I don't see anything creepy here. That friend has her own issues, for sure. Update. Sorry everyone for the late update. I stated in the comments that I wouldn't make any updates before I've seen my girlfriend, and we work conflicting schedules. So today was the first I could see her since the dinner. After pizza and chatting about our days and what we've been up to, and after I ogled her for a while, she opened the conversation about the dinner. I played it cool, and I was relieved that she was the one to initiate the conversation. She started by apologizing for how her friends treated me. I asked her if there's any truth to what was said, and if she felt uncomfortable with me because that's all I've been thinking of, and because I would never forgive myself if I put her in any situation where she felt violated or unsafe. Her eyes were wide with chalks, and she assured me that she never felt uncomfortable with me. So I asked her why her closest friends would think that to the degree that they turned the subject into a sexual harassment argument. She said that she was appalled by what her best friend had said. When we started dating, and it got serious between us, she told her friends that I always looked at her in a way that made her feel like she's the prettiest in the world, and that she felt so insecure because she's not used to that. She also loved how I even embraced her shyness, instead of being weirded out by her awkwardness. So I asked if anything of what she told them could have given them the idea that I was making her uncomfortable. She said absolutely not. She didn't know where that came from. And even when she confronted her best friend, she didn't get a real reason why her best friend freaked out on us. Her best friend just thought I was being creepy, and then later she told my girlfriend that she thought I was a bully who ridiculed her and yelled at her. Here's my theory. This best friend is see you next Tuesday. She works hard to be in the spotlight. She used me to start an argument and steal the show. And probably it was because she couldn't take that my girlfriend was the star of the dinner. The dinner was about my girlfriend introducing her boyfriend to the group. And she was prepared to do anything and go any length, including treating me like a predator. I know that I made it worse by making fun of her and her ridiculous accusations, because it made me look like I was making fun of sexual harassment and made the other friends pissed. But I still don't regret putting her in her place when I told her to shut up. I didn't discuss this with my girlfriend. I asked her why she's friends with someone who's so unlike her. She thought for a while and said that she loved her. They have been friends for so long, And while she's aware of her bad traits, she's also a kind and loyal friend who'd be here when you need her. So I guess I'm going to have to live with this woman in my life. I will try to avoid her as much as I can, and take everything she says or does with a bit of salt or sugar, if that's what it takes. By the way, for the few who got offended by my love for my girlfriend's face and called me shallow, relax. Although I love her face, it's not the thing I love the most about her. It's not even the body part I love the most about her. But maybe top 5. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.